good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us for another itinerary in-depth presentation this lunchtime. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dan Free, and I'm the General Manager here at Wildlife Worldwide and the Travelling Naturalist. Now, this lunchtime, I'm joined by my good friend and colleague, Rob Smith, who is our expert in Colombia. Now, some of you may have tuned in for Rob's talk earlier in the year on Colombia, and we had some fantastic feedback for that. And on the back of that talk, there was quite a few requests for a bird and mammal focused itinerary. The other itineraries we offer are either dedicated to birds or bird photography or rare mammals, but there was a lot of people asking for birds and mammals and to perhaps stay at some of the more comfortable accommodation in the country. And so this is exactly what we've done. We've come up with an itinerary for you people. We've been working on it over the last couple of months, and today we'll be launching it. And Rob will be talking us through that itinerary, giving us an in-depth feel for what we can expect from traveling on that particular trip. Now, as I'm sure you all know, there will be the option to request a copy of the travel plan or the detailed itinerary at the end of the talk. That will be presented just as a poll, and you simply need to just click on that, and that will authorize us to send you further information. As ever, there'll be a chance to ask questions. So if I can ask that you use the Q&A function, post any questions in there, and then I will put them to Rob at the end of the talk. Rob suggested that he's probably going to be talking for about 40-45 minutes, and then I would expect us to have about 15-minute Q&A. So I've no doubt you'll enjoy the talk, and hopefully the trip will be of interest. And on that note, I think it's time to pass over to you, Rob. You good to go, mate?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Good afternoon, everyone. As Dan said, I'm Rob, and yeah, I'm looking forward to taking you on a whistle-stop tour through some of the best locations in Colombia to see the best of Colombia's birds and mammals. As you can see from this opening slide, Colombia is a really stunningly beautiful location. Wherever you travel in the country, you're greeted with wonderful scenes such as this. This is a picture from the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, which is featured on the tour and which we'll talk about in more detail a little later. So just to give a quick introduction on Colombia, it's a warm, friendly, vibrant, colorful country. As I said, it's stunningly beautiful. This is on the western side of the country, this picture. It's extremely biodiverse, one of the most biodiverse countries in the world. When we're touring throughout the country, we're often met by locals who are really intrigued to see what we're up to, what are all these weird telescopes that we've got, and what are we looking at. And it's a really friendly, welcoming place. Colombia's obviously had its troubles in the past. Thankfully, it's looking ahead to a much brighter future. And it's a great place to travel. So I encourage anyone, if you get the opportunity to go to Colombia, just take it. Obviously, we've all been a bit stuck of late, but hopefully things are going to open up, and Colombia should definitely be top of your travel priorities. Just to give you a quick introduction on the country as a whole, it sits at the top of South America. You can see the Isthmus of Panama runs down here, Costa Rica into Panama and into Colombia. Colombia has a northern Caribbean coast, a Pacific coastline as well. These dark regions running through the northern part of the country are three distinct ranges of the Andes. There's the eastern Orinoco area known as Los Llanos, which is a subtropical savanna habitat drained by the Orinoco River basin. And to the south, we have the Amazonian region. Just to give a clear indication of those five major biomes, we're really going to be focusing on the yellow, the Llanos, for this, where we start the tour. We'll also be spending some time in the Andes, both in the higher regions and the lower section of this Andean area. And also we'll be spending the end of the tour up in this on this Caribbean coastline, which also features this area here, which is a separate mountain range known as the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, which is that opening slide that I showed you which is a really unique place and where we'll be really spending several nights for an in-depth look at its unique wildlife up there. So just to give you a broad picture, Colombia has close to 2,000 species of birds, the highest recorded number of bird species anywhere of any country in the world. Close to 500 species of mammals, so there's lots of mammal interest. Over 1,300 species of reptile and amphibian, untold number of plants, 4,000 species of orchid alone, of which about 1,500 are thought to be endemic. And new discoveries are being made all the time. New species are being discovered and described to science. So it's a really exciting place for a naturalist who's looking for a really exciting travel destination. Right. So the tour that we've come up with here, we start off in Colombia's eastern Andes. Here we fly into the capital Bogota, and we immediately descend down into this Llanos area. We're going to be sort of around here. We're in the lowlands here, so it's nice and warm, and we'll be exploring this area for a few days at the start of the tour. We'll be in comfortable air-conditioned bus, and we'll be staying in a lovely hotel with a nice pool, so we can relax and spend just chill out after a day's wildlife watching back at the hotel, which has comfortable air-conditioned rooms. Perhaps the most sort of conspicuous wildlife that we'll be greeted with is striking bird life, such as scarlet ibis, scarlet macaw, and familiar shaped birds, but perhaps different species that you're not used to seeing, such as this lettered aracari, which is a member of the toucan family, and oriole blackbird, the striking birds such as swallowed tanager as well. And perhaps some more cryptic species. We know some good day roosts for great poitou, and perhaps some raptors and vultures, such as king vulture, we can sometimes see in this area. And of course, as the name of the tour suggests, we'll be particularly focusing in on some of the unique mammals of the area in each place that we visit on the tour. So in this Llanos region, these lowland eastern plains, we'll be looking in some fringing forests for unique species of primate in particular. And amongst them, we will almost undoubtedly see the striking ornate TT monkey, which is unique to Colombia. It's an endemic species, and we'll be waking up on one particular morning when we're down here. We'll make a concerted effort to be in location for around sort of 7 o'clock in the morning, and we'll be waiting for family groups to start their vocalizations, which are really incredible. And they do these family vocalizations to sort of mark territory and sort of reconfirm their family bonds. And sometimes the adults will wrap their tails around each other. It's a really special experience. So we'll be looking to enjoy that on one of the mornings when we're in Los Llanos. Other special primates of the area are charismatic brumbax night monkeys. These guys are also endemic to Colombia, so we can't see them anywhere else in the world. As their name suggests, they're nocturnal, hence their big eyes in proportion to their heads. And we know some day roosts for these guys. They often hang out in stands of thick bamboo, or in this case, in hollow holes of trees. So we stand to get really good views of these charismatic little primates. Other iconic mammals of the region include giant anteater. We stand a really good chance of seeing this iconic species of South America. Often we can find them sort of late in the afternoon, just as they're getting active. They mostly feed throughout the night, but often we can see them sort of late in the afternoon. Closely related, the southern tamandu is also around, and we have really good chances of finding these guys as well. Really great species, and we can often, when we do find them, we can often, just stand back at a respectful distance and really soak in the experience of just watching these guys. If we're really lucky, we may come across other really unique wildlife of the area, such as long-nosed Janos armadillo. We have to be a bit fortunate to find one of these guys. Equally, we could even come across an ocelot or even a puma. But the cat's really a little bit chance, and we have to obviously have a little bit of luck for those. So that's the Janos, the Eastern Janos Plains down here, where we spend the first few nights of the tour, and then we relocate. We take a flight over to the central Andes of Colombia, around here, and we'll be flying into an Andean settlement city called Manizales, which is at the very northern end of the Colombia's famous coffee growing region. Some of the best coffee in the world, for sure, undoubtedly. We'll take the opportunity to visit a local coffee finca, a plantation, and here we'll enjoy a coffee tasting session, so we can taste the delights of Colombia, and its wonderful coffee. Enjoy a nice spread. This is the typical sort of food and drink that we'll be enjoying throughout the country. Lovely fresh tropical fruit juices and fruits, fresh food, really nice stuff. And in the plantation itself, we can expect to see some wonderful bird life, such as Andean motmot, Mars trogon. This is the female of Mars trogon here, and other spectacular species like summer tanager. I should say this tour's really not, we're not really going after really skulky species on this tour. This is more, we're more looking for spectacular, colorful birds. We're not going to be spending hours and hours looking for sort of, hard to see tapaculos and things like that. We're more focusing our time on the wonderful bird life that's right in front of us, as well as obviously the mammals. Obviously, species like this crimson mantle woodpecker, the name escaped me for a minute. So after our plantation visit, we'll make our way up a little higher, up into the higher reaches of Colombia's central Andes. We'll be staying at a fantastic hotel called Termales del Ruiz, which sits just outside the wonderful Los Nevados National Park. As you can see, the hotel is spectacularly located. We're looking back down to the city of Manizales, far below us down here. And we're right up at around 2,800 meters. It's cool up here. It's much, much cooler than our first Janos location. We'll need some warmer clothes, obviously, to make sure that we're comfortable in these higher climbs. And you may be wondering why there's an outdoor swimming pool up here. Well, this is an active geothermal region. The national park is named after the volcano Nevado del Ruiz, and so there's thermal hot springs in this region, and the hotel have very kindly funneled some of these hot springs into these wonderful pools. It's a great hotel. You spend the time out exploring and wildlife watching around, and then at the end of the day, you can take a beer or a glass of wine down to these thermal hot springs. Soak up in these wonderful hot pools. Obviously, as you can see here, there's wonderful habitat surrounding them. There's hummingbirds whizzing around over your head. It's just one of those wonderful experiences, and certainly one that I recommend. The hotel's very comfortable. We'll be well looked after. The restaurant serves nice fresh trout, and the rooms are obviously comfortable. It's a great place to be. One of my favorite hotels in the whole country. The hotel has some fantastic gardens which feature fruit feeders and hummingbird feeders, which attract species like this scarlet-bellied mountain tanager and masked flower piercer. Around the hummingbird feeders, we may find rainbow-bearded thornbill, this incredible little hummingbird with its amazing beard. And here's another shot of the same bird with its sort of landing gear up. Other nice hummers around are mountain velvet breast with that lovely long curved bill. And we can get hummingbirds in the hand with these small handheld sugar feeders. So getting them come right up close and getting views that are just incredible. Around the hotel, there's stunning cloud forest habitat. There's local farmsteads as well before the entrance to the national park. So we'll be exploring those, and we'll also be heading up into the higher reaches of Los Nevados and into the national park, which is up here. We're in habitat known as Paramo, which is a special neotropical high altitude savanna. Essentially, we're above the tree line here, and this habitat is noted for these strange looking plants that you can see here, these sort of straight bolt upright, almost palm looking plants, but in fact they're actually related to sunflowers, and they're called Esphiletia, and they're found, if you look in the back of the picture, the whole scene is dotted with these strange looking plants, which are really important part of the habitat, and they are particularly important for some of the really specialized hummingbirds that are found in these higher reaches of the central Andes. And perhaps the most striking and most unique is this buffy helmet crest, which is found only in the central Andes of Colombia, nowhere else in the world. So it's a really, serious bragging rights if you can see this guy and hopefully get a picture. We have never failed to see it. So with the time that we have up there, we'll surely find buffy helmet crest, and we can get some nice pictures of this stunning little spectacular hummingbird with its lovely purple bib and that striking crest. As I said, the scenery is just spectacular up here. These some closer pictures of the Esphiletia, and if we're really lucky, we may even run into one of the elusive mammals of the region, the wonderful mountain tapir. We could even see spectacle bear up here, although we'd have to be very lucky, very fortunate to find a spectacle bear. And we have more details on spectacle bear at a little later on, which I'll mention. During our time in the area, we'll also visit a slightly lower reserve, which is a great reserve that's been set up a few years back. It's a local farmer who's actually protecting really special cloud forest habitat, which is attracting wonderful birds like this grey-breasted mountain toucan. They also have some ant pitter feeding stations, so we will see some ant pitters, but we won't be hanging around for hours to wait for them. They're coming out to these feeding stations in the mornings, and we can enjoy views of these wonderful little ant pitters, such as this. Well, it was known as Rufous ant pitter. It's now known as equatorial ant pitter. It was split some time back. But also there's more spectacular hummingbirds around, like long-tailed sylph and the incomparable sword-billed hummingbird as well, a real favorite, obviously, for its magnificent bill. Okay, so that's our time in the central Andes here. From here, we'll relocate using our comfortable bus, air conditioned, and head down into this valley here, which sits between the central and eastern Andes. It's known as the Magdalena Valley, named after the river which runs through it, the Magdalena. And we're heading from high altitude down into much lower climes, much hotter and more humid, and we'll end up in a reserve, or just next to a reserve called Rio Claro. We'll stay in a lovely little hotel with an inviting swimming pool, again air-conditioned rooms, and we'll spend a few nights here exploring the area. The Rio Claro Reserve, translated as Clear River, this river cuts through a limestone gorge, and when it hasn't been raining, the river is crystal clear. You can take a dip in it, and perhaps more importantly, we'll be looking for the special wildlife that's to be found in these threatened Magdalena lowland forests. Of particular note are some wonderful primates. There's white-fronted capuchin here, but perhaps the most wanted primate is the silvery brown bare-faced tamarin, which we see a picture of here. These guys can be found in large family troops. Once we've located a troop, we'll just wait and watch as they move through the the lower and mid canopy, often just sort of peering back at us, giving hopefully good views and allowing some pictures to be taken for any keen photographers. There's more spectacular bird life here, such as golden-headed manakin. There's several other species of manakin in the area, striolated and white-bibbed. Wonderful, wonderful birds here. Other spectacular species like citron-throated toucan. There's several endemics that we'll also be keeping an eye out for, such as beautiful woodpecker and white-mantled barbet and others. We'll certainly spend some time doing a bit of spotlighting in the evening, and we might run into this wonderful crested owl. We've seen jaguarundi, a small species of cat that in this area before, and also actually we sometimes see neotropical otter as well in the area. On one of the late evenings that we spend here, we'll head down to a cave that holds a healthy population of oilbirds. Unfortunately, I don't have a good picture of those, but it's an experience not to be missed. We'll sit outside the cave and watch as many of these oilbirds exit the caves, and with these strange vocalizations before they head off and feed in the surrounding forests, later returning to roost in the caves throughout the day. We also might find some other mammals in the area. This brown-eared woolly opossum, for example, can be seen, and yeah, we'll spend certainly some time spotlighting and taking in the mammals of the area. So that's the Magdalena Valley, and for the last part of the tour, we're going to be heading to this Caribbean region that I mentioned earlier. We're going to start off in this triangular-shaped mountainous area. As you can see, it's separated from the main body of the Andes here, and it's been separated for thousands of years, and it's one of Colombia's most important areas of endemism. So there's many endemic species, particularly birds, but also amphibians and mammals as well. So we spend the first night in a small village just in the foothills of the Sierra called Minca. It's something of a repositioning night, this one. We'll have flown from the Magdalena Valley to this spot. We'll spend one night here. The hotel features a lovely balcony that looks over the surrounding forests. There's hummingbird feeders here, so we can just enjoy a coffee or a fresh juice and just enjoy the hummingbirds around us. There's more iconic birds in the area, such as keel-billed toucan, and we know some day roosts for owls, such as this black and white owl. And then we'll start the following morning. Having spent a night in Minca, we'll start moving on up using rugged four-wheel drive Land Cruisers up into the higher reaches of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. And we'll start to experience and see the famed endemic birds of the area. So we should see the likes of this Santa Marta wood star. And these birds can be seen nowhere else other than this Santa Marta range. It's really a very special place. One of the most sort of special regions for endemism, really anywhere in the world. We'll surely encounter Santa Marta brushfinch. And as we go a bit higher into the higher reaches, into the cloud forest habitat, we'll come across Santa Marta mountain tanager as well, no doubt. There's some other really important and special birds in the area, such as this white-tipped quetzal. It's not endemic to the Sierra, but it just crosses over a little into neighboring Venezuela. But really, there's nowhere else that you can see this bird other than this particular region of the world. Eventually, we'll reach the famous El Dorado Lodge. El Dorado is translated as the gold, and as you can see here, this is sunset at the lodge. The lodge looks down back towards the Caribbean coast, which runs down here. The sunsets are spectacular. Often a little later, as the sun drops a little lower on the horizon, this whole Caribbean coast is lit up in gold. It shimmers. It's just incredible. There's nowhere else like it in the world. And we'll be spending 3 nights up here, so we'll really be based up here for a good amount of time and really get to see this incredible area in depth. The lodge is comfortable. We'll be well looked after. The food's good, and it's just a real treat to spend time in this particular region. There's lovely gardens that back out onto the surrounding lush forests. The gardens are filled with hummingbird feeders and tanager feeders. So we'll be getting up close and personal with the likes of blue-naped chlorofonia, and there's lots of crowned wood nymphs all over the place. And there's some more special endemic hummingbirds often visit the gardens as well, like this white-tailed starred frontlet. On one of the mornings that we're in the area, we'll make a very early start and a concerted effort to climb higher up onto the top of the ridgeline, the famous San Lorenzo Ridge at around 2,800 meters. So we'll be up here at sunrise, and we'll have a picnic breakfast up here. We'll witness the sunrise, and we'll get incredible views up in this special location. It's definitely a place to get a quick snap. And as the sun comes up, the view just gets better and better. We're now looking out towards the snow-capped peaks of the Central Sierra. It's impossible really to visit that region. There's no roads. You have to, if you want to get up into the Central Mountains, the only option is really a long hike. So this is the best way to experience and see the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. And as you can see, down on this near ridge, the area is noted for wax palms, Colombia's national tree. And these wax palms grow at this high altitude, and it's one of those really weird, strange views that you get in Colombia. These palm trees at this high altitude, and this sort of juxtaposition against the snow-capped mountains in the backdrop. It's just spectacular. I never tire of going up there. So we're up there early in the morning, and this will allow us to enjoy some of the sort of most elusive of the Santa Marta endemic species, such as the Santa Marta parakeet. Nowhere else you can see these birds. You have to be up at this altitude, and hopefully we'll get views of those guys. And there's also yellow-crowned white star and several others that we'll be looking for up there. So we'll have a wonderful morning up in the high San Lorenzo Ridge before we'll start making our way slowly back towards the lodge in our 4x4 vehicles, making stops along the way for a coffee. Now we're looking back here, we're looking back towards the Caribbean. So we're sort of looking in the opposite direction of the Central Mountains, and we're looking back down to the city of Santa Marta, which sits on the Caribbean coast down here. And we would have made an early start that day, so we'll have a very relaxed afternoon. We'll enjoy a nice lunch, spend time just enjoying the lodge gardens, and no doubt taking in a lovely sunset at the end of the day. We have 3 nights here in El Dorado, so we'll certainly make use of at least one of these to go out and do some spotlighting. And we'll be looking in particular for the gray-handed night monkey, which is a subspecies up here in Santa Marta. It's likely will be a future species in its own right. There's also kinkajou and other nocturnal mammals that we'll be keeping an eye out for. And we'll also be looking for the rare and special Santa Marta screech owl as well, another endemic here that we can hopefully find in the evenings. Other wildlife will be evident as well, like this Magdalena glass frog, also endemic. A lot of the wildlife up here is endemic. You know, if you see a spider on the floor, there's a good chance there's going to be an endemic in this area. So we'll be keeping an eye out for these guys as well. And perhaps in the morning, we might find an atlas moth roosting on the lodge. they're quite often seen around the windows of the lodge in the morning, attracted to the lights that are on overnight. Excuse me. So that's the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, this triangular region, very special place. And from here, we'll make our way down to the Caribbean coast around here, and we'll be spending the last nights of the tour in Bliss, right on the Caribbean coast, next to the wonderful Tayrona National Park. Here we'll be spending our time in a wonderful lodge. More than likely, we'll have the entire lodge to ourselves because it only has a few rooms. As you can see, we've got the foothills of the Sierra behind us. We have a freshwater river that runs from the high mountains, that runs past the lodge and into the Caribbean Sea. And the picture has actually been taken from the sea. Here's the other view. So looking back from where that previous picture was taken, you have the nice freshwater swimming pool, the river that runs in front of the lodge, and the Caribbean Sea on the horizon. And yeah, we should be fine. I think we'll be okay in this place for a couple of nights. It should suffice, I think. So we'll be spending some time in Tayrona National Park. We'll no doubt come across Colombian red howler monkeys, these wonderful monkeys. We may well have heard them up in El Dorado. They can be found in generally a bit lower than the lodge, and we often hear them in the mornings and afternoons, but it's a bit difficult to see them. But here they're quite common, and we'll no doubt be enjoying views of these wonderful primates. But our main and perhaps most special target on these last few nights of the tour is the charismatic and unique cotton-top tamarin, another endemic primate that can only be found in Colombia. Like the tamarin that I mentioned earlier, the silvery brown barefaced variety, these guys are found in large family troops. They're quite habituated here because Tayrona sees being on the Caribbean coast and in these warm tropical surrounds, it's quite a popular national park with tourists. So the cotton tops are actually quite habituated. So often when we find a troop in the mornings, we can really enjoy good views of these guys just working their way through the sort of lower mid canopy. They'll often stare back at us and wonder, what we're up to. And we also can get special access in Tayrona National Park. So we can get there before the general tourists do. Get there nice and early in the morning. We can enjoy some birding. Generally, the cotton tops they get active from around 7 o'clock in the morning. So we can often be situated in a good spot for these guys as they're getting active. Other really nice wildlife around as well that we can that hopefully we'll come across, like this yellow-lined poison frog, and if we're really lucky, we may come across a blue-billed curassow, another really rare, critically endangered endemic bird that can be found in Tayrona's coastal dry forests. So that's the main tour. Hopefully I've given a good impression of Colombia there. I think it's a cracking tour, comfortable lodges, and we'll be spending 2 to 3 nights in just about every location, with a couple of repositioning nights. So the pace of the tour's been carefully considered, and I think it gives a wonderful balance of excellent wildlife, wonderful lodges, and plenty of time just to soak in those very unique habitats that we'll be visiting, those different locations throughout the country. So as I mentioned earlier, there is a chance that you can see Andean bear or spectacled bear on the main tour. However, it's really we'd really need a massive slice of luck for that. It's possible, but if you really want to increase your chances significantly of seeing Andean bear, then we're offering an extension. As with the main tour, flying to Bogota, in this eastern Andean branch here, and we'll have a night to acclimatize. Bogota's at around 2,600 meters, so you're flying into quite a high altitude. So we have a night here to acclimatize, a relaxed afternoon, and for those that want, we can go and have a look at the famous gold museum that's found in Bogota. It's really worth it. It only takes an hour to go around, but it's an incredible collection of gold artifacts, one of the largest of anywhere in the world, if not the largest. We'll be using, again, really the best suited vehicles for the job. In this case, Land Cruisers. And we'll be heading up into the nearby Chingaza National Park, where we'll spend 4 nights. So we really have an extended period of time in this area to really maximize our chances of seeing spectacled bear. This national park has one of the highest concentrations of bears of anywhere in South America. So our chances are really excellent. It's a stunningly beautiful place to spend some time. Again, it has these Esphaletia plants that I mentioned earlier. These are even more sort of palm-like, these ones. There's several different species, which explains why they look a bit different to the ones we were looking at earlier, but nevertheless, it's just a spectacular landscape. The accommodation is very simple here. It's not like the main tour. It's very basic. There's a couple of private rooms, but there's no ensuite facilities. So we certainly can't guarantee ensuite facilities, but really the main focus of this extension is to get out. We'll be spending long hours in the field looking for these bears. So these are just places really to lay our heads at night, get some rest, and then we'll be up again very early in the morning looking for bears. As I say, it's a wonderful place. One of my favorite places to spend time. Spectacular landscapes. With unique wildlife. These are some of the flowering Esphaletia in the national park. There's wonderful orchids that we'll come across, more special bird life that we'll see as we're searching for the bears, like this rufous-browed conebill, which is a near endemic, blushcap. I didn't really show that one for very long, so have another look at blushcap, wonderful little bird. And also there's green-bearded helmet crest here, which is the cousin of the buffy helmet crest that we will no doubt see on the main tour that I mentioned in the Central Andes. Other mammals we might come across include taira, western mountain coatis, a possibility. It's quite a tough species, but it's possible. But we'll no doubt see white-tailed deer as well. They're very common in the park, and we'll see plenty of these guys. But yeah, we're really focusing all our attention and efforts on getting views of spectacled bear. This was a sighting that we had just before lockdown of a mother and 2 cubs. Wonderful sighting. We enjoyed this encounter for probably 45 minutes, just viewing through binoculars at a respectable range, and we carry scopes with us as well, so we can really take, if we can find bear, which I hope we will, we can really get some wonderful views and encounters. And if you're wondering what it feels like to encounter one of these elusive bears in South America, this is Kate Humble here. We saw that mother and cub, and yeah, it was a really special moment and one memories to savor for sure. So that really wraps up the pre-tour extension and the main tour. I'm just going to pop in a few extra slides just to run you through what else you might see in Colombia, perhaps if you want to do a private tailor-made extension, looking for more primates like the rare Cacatati T, golden back tuacari. There's more endemic birds such as multicolored tanager, Andean cock of the rock. As I said, there's wonderful orchid variety, probably the most orchids of anywhere in the world. Wonderful orchids, sort of variations from the large to the tiny. You want to do some adventurous travel going down to the Colombia's Pacific coast, that's possible. You can come between June and October for the humpback whale migration down there. Spending time in a wonderful Pacific lodge right out on the edge of nowhere. You could go and see Andean condor up close. I should have mentioned actually, Andean condor is certainly possible on the main tour when we're up in the Central Highlands. We can often see them. circling above us. And yeah, really special amphibians and frogs as well on offer. And I think that just about wraps things up.
Robert, that was brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Even better than last time, in my opinion. And I think the trip that we've got there just looks amazing. It really does. It's just moved to the top of my list, mate. So it's got my vote. Rob, we've got a load of questions. Lots of fantastic feedback whilst you've been talking. So I'm going to get straight into them, if you don't mind.
Go for it. Yeah, let's do it.
The first one is from Peter. He's asked if there's any chance of seeing the Orinoco crocodile at all.
Orinoco crocodile, not on this trip, but we could easily do an extension into a more remote spot in the Llanos for Orinoco crocodile, and it will also increase your chances of seeing anaconda as well. So it's certainly possible. We could do it as an extension.
Okay, no, super. Thank you, Rob. Rob, before I carry on with the questions, I should just post the poll. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble with the marketing department. So, guys, if you are interested in the trip and you would like to receive a copy of the itinerary, then do just vote on this poll. Just tick yes, and we'll get that in on an email to you probably later today or tomorrow. So you should all hopefully be able to see that poll now. I will continue the questions, Rob, because we have, as I say, we've got a few. How demanding is the trip physically? That's from Chris.
Yeah, so the tour's been set up to be not to be physically demanding. We will be spending quite a few of the excursions on foot, but there's no demanding walks. It's all very, very gentle, and we'll be taking things at a leisurely pace. Often we'll be spending good time just relaxing in the afternoons as well. And we'll have, for a lot of the trips, we'll have like vehicles with us. So we'll be jumping out of the vehicles and back in and out, especially when we're in the high mountains. Yep. So we won't be doing any walking in the high mountains when we're at altitude. We'll have vehicle assistance, whether that's the bus with us in the Central Andes or four-wheel drives when we're up in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. We'll have vehicle assistance with us. So we'll be doing little stints on our feet and then repositioning to a different altitude by vehicle. The same can be said for the Spectacle Bear extension. So we'll be moving large distances within the park, but we won't be doing that on foot. We'll be doing that by vehicles, scanning valleys, and then jumping in, moving to other areas.
Fantastic. So arguably it is kind of suitable for the vast majority of people, really. Who can manage a bit of walking. What kind of altitudes do we get up to, Rob?
So when we're staying in the Central Andes, that's the highest we'll go on the tour. The lodge will be at around 2,800 meters, but by then we'll be well acclimatized, because we do have a night in Bogota, and but from there, after a night there, we will climb up into higher reaches for the Buffy Helmet Crest. So we'll be up at around over 3,500 meters, but we won't be sleeping up there. We'll be coming back down to the lodge. Sure. That's the highest point on the tour. When we're up in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, we're up at around 1,800 meters in terms of the lodge, and then we'll be going up to about, I think it's around 2,800 meters for the view that's behind us here.
Okay. We've obviously had trips run out there before, Rob, and to my knowledge, we've not had anybody struggle with the altitude and stuff, because we are taking it nice and slow. Is that fair to say? It's not really a big concern. Have you had any problems with people struggling at all, or?
No, we haven't. We're very aware of it, and obviously, I've spent a lot of time up in running tours in high altitude regions. It's something we have to be aware of. It's not to say that someone, it's possible that someone could struggle, and if that happens, it's very important that we just reduce altitude immediately. But we've never had that problem, and we design the tours so that we can acclimatize. So, for example, before we go, we spend time in the Llanos early on, but we have a night in Bogota before we fly into the Central Andes and go up to the higher lodge. that's really important. It's a matter of taking steps along the way to ensure that we're well acclimatized, and that's certainly built into the tour to make sure and to minimize any problems. And as you say, we've never had any problems before.
Fantastic. I mean, the nice thing, and this is something which we really we're both very keen on, is that we have allowed a decent amount of time at each place, and in particular, the lodges are in lovely locations, aren't they? So, you know, should you want to just take some time out, you know, for an afternoon or whatever, then you're more than likely going to see some fantastic stuff just around the lodge as well. You know, the hummingbird feeders and so forth. So
yeah, so a lot of the nights will be, let's think, like 3, 6, 7, at least 7 or more nights. There'll be hummingbird and tanager feeders just in the lodge gardens. There's obviously pools in a couple of the hotels, so great to cool off when we're in the lower altitude, and also those thermal hot springs. You know, we're as guides, we'll be doing the majority of the wildlife watching early in the morning. That's when the activity is at its best. And then, you know, if anyone wants to go out in the afternoon, we may well say, look, have a relaxed afternoon around the feeders. But if anyone's really keen, I can lead. I lead always with a local guide on these group tours. So if anyone's really keen to do a bit more birding in the afternoon, then they can go out with the vehicles. We have vehicles to obviously all private and ready to go whenever we want. So there's various
complete
options.
flexibility. Yeah,
absolutely.
No, brilliant, Rob. That sounds super, mate. It really does. We've got a couple of questions here just about the weight limit on the internal flights. Is that any different to the internationals, or what are we looking at there, please?
Yeah, generally the domestic flights will what's the word? They'll sort of adhere to the international weight limits.
Okay.
So that shouldn't be a problem. The only problem that could arise is if you fly business and you max out your business. So perhaps don't do that. But generally speaking, I think 22 kg or so is absolutely fine for those internals.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Good stuff. Any chance of harpy eagle at all, or is that not really a likely species?
No harpies. No, there's a chance of crested eagle. Harpy would need you'd need to go down into Amazonia for harpy. And so again, it would be could be an extension if you're looking for that particular species.
Great stuff. And then finally, Rob, I will let you get on with your afternoon shortly. Can you cater for vegetarians easy enough? Is that straightforward?
Yeah, definitely. That's fine. No problem at all. All the hotels are, they're well versed with various dietary requirements, so that won't be a problem.
Brilliant, Rob. It really, really does sound fantastic, mate. I'm so excited about this one. We've had lots of people request the travel plan, which is super. So we'll obviously get that sent out. Let me just check here to see if there's one or two more. Many bugs about. This is going to be the final one. Are we looking at lots of mosquitoes and stuff, or generally not too bad?
No, generally not too bad at all, actually. Probably, we spend some time in the lowlands on this trip, but equally we spend time in the highlands. So we'll be going, especially when we're in the highlands, there's nothing. No real insects to worry about at all. When we're in the lowlands, yeah, there could be a few mozzies around and things, but obviously we'll make sure that we have repellent. The rooms and where we actually sleep will be mosquito free.
Good stuff, Rob. Rob, this has been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, mate. We
pleasure.
have, for everybody tuning in, we have got a special discount offer as ever. So it's £100 per person off, and that's off any of the Colombia trips that we offer. We run them all with Rob. So there's that offer, which will be, I think, available until around mid-August. You'll be receiving an email about that alongside the travel plan for those of you who have requested that. But on that note, I think we'll wrap things up. Rob, thanks again. You've been fantastic, mate. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Cheers, Dan.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye.